Moby Dick on the Hermitcraft 10 server. Gotta restart Minecraft 'cause it failed just before I meant to start the stream. Yeah, you better save that replay file. I need that. Let me show y'all what I was working on replay file wise. I think you'll like this. Maybe. Can I show you this? Ooh. Okay, while that loads, I will set up this other thing. La da da da. Da 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 da. Da da do 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 do. Do 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 do. How come YouTube is a failin'? I wanna get to wailing about that inefficient website when I'm trying to read a thing. I wanna set up the stream now. Instead, all I've got is a time lapse playing. Da 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 da. Howdy nutmeg soup, that one guy, honeycomb lord, no name Nolan, iconic anemone, all in the YouTube chat. Imagine that. Also, we got K Mac with a dumb question in the Twitch chat because apparently he doesn't know that Tennessee has multiple time zones. We do. Look at your phone. Also, Honeybee, enjoy your sewing. Welcome, Annie, not a miss as well. N44T, Gray Scalies, Chaotic Being, and Isabel. Also, K Pope. Glad to see you, Jeff the Talking Muse. We are loading up this thing for Hermitcraft. This is the time lapse of what I did during my 4-hour stream earlier. If you're like coming in, you're like, why is there a time lapse? I've rendered this earlier, and I'm hoping it doesn't look terrible. Welcome, Woodland Juliet. Okay, so we need to pull up our Moby Dick. Project Gutenberg. Gutenberg.org. And I think we're on chapter 14. Okay, we arrived in Nantucket. So we're on chapter 15, Chowda. I need to pin this link. Okay, we're reading Moby Dick, chapter 15. And I'm going to post that link. Direct link. Pin the message. Pin the message. Do. Okay. Hey, Gasp C Chat. We are live. We're getting ready to read chapter 15 of Moby Dick, which is about Chowder. Just as a reminder, this is a viewer-supported stream, and tips are welcome via paypal.me/joehills and YouTube Super Chat. We are currently $10 away from the next Facegamer expansion milestone. So let's check the other time-lapse. The other time-lapse isn't quite as motion-y. I have a fixed layout version of the same time-lapse. Let's see. It takes a few seconds to load in. And then I start digging the stuff up. Yep, there's the digging. Flying around. Digging stuff out. It's not quite as... Because the camera's not moving, it's not quite as dynamic. But there is still some value to it, I feel. We're starting at chapter 15. I pinned the chapter that we're about to read. Whoops, didn't mean to punch the microphone there. Oh, yeah, I also should post the chapter link in the Patreon. Hey, our first tip of the stream just rolled in from Juliet Graves, who says, never realized how mesmerizing a quiet time-lapse could be. Well, let's ruin it with my face. We were at the most obnoxious face camera expansion milestone, the Tony Stark helmet cam, but now Juliet Tippin 10 is going to get us evenly to our next face camera expansion. Expand. Why can't I grab it? Joost. Do. What is that? Is that my... Oh, that's my hair through the thing. I'm going to lower the Joe opacity now to 50%. So thank you, Juliet Graves. That puts us now 20 away from the next face camera expansion milestone. I'm going to turn the camera off for a second while we let people look at the time lapse. And while I continue to get set up here. I think we're basically set up, but we're not quite. Okay. So this would end up probably playing faster in the actual YouTube episode. This is just the speed at which I render it before I speed it up. But yeah, if I put this in the YouTube episode, or when I put this in the YouTube episode, I'm going to have to figure out how to monologue over this. Like, clearly removing all the grass was an integral part of the project. However, people don't appreciate that removing the ice was equally important. As you can see, I had to destroy the ice quicker than it could spread. I placed a bunch of torches on the remaining ice here so it would melt more quickly while I wandered to other areas. I began to place buckets of water along the edges of the stairs to make it feel like a waterlogged slope here. However, in places where the water was exposed to air blocks or unwaterlogged stairs, we were having issues with the ice reasserting itself. Oh, yeah, sorry, the map is in the way. But yeah, you get the idea. So we have our lagoon in. Yep, that's when I was battling the ice. So we're going to read Moby Dick, chapter 15 today. But first we need to clean my inventory and fix my tools and my elytra. So let's go deal with that. Then we'll come back and terraform. Honeybee says, wow, you can completely see the ice, the outline now. That was something that I felt like was really important. Because I've spent the last few streams removing blocks as part of my terraforming. And yeah, so just so you guys can see it, in the map here in the nether, here's where the lagoon is. And we're going to actually put a portal on this island here. And that's going to come out in the middle of the lagoon in the overworld. But yeah, you don't realize how much bigger 8 times larger is. The overworld homedel I'm building is 1-to-1 with the real life homedel. The one in the nether is 1/8 because nether is 1/8. Thank you, Cub, for the cool rockets. Who's online? It's me, Tango, Scar, and Asuma. Oh, we need to mark ourselves as streaming and open. But yeah, so that was a big jump forward in the project, was actually placing blocks instead of just removing blocks. I know we're getting back to removing blocks tonight while I read this book, but I wanted to have something to show y'all, just so, because like I could understand people getting frustrated, being like, you know, all I've seen is Joe taking out mountains, but when's he gonna add anything, right? That's not optimal. You know, you wanna give people a little something to see and appreciate as you work your way through the project. What else needs to be repaired? All this needs to be repaired. Okay, cool. Options, music and sounds, hostile creatures off. Da, 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 da. Okay, elytra is definitely getting repaired. If I hover over this, can I see that durability? Oh, wow, you can actually see the numbers go up. That's cool. Welcome, Amethyst. Glad you could join us. Hello to Brazil, Hugo Ribeiro in the YouTube chat. Lost Cult Music says, you want to give yourself some tangible signs of progress as well. Sketching out the lagoon gives you some visual references to work with. Yeah, that's the thing, is it really helps contextualize the rest of the build. Getting the building outline in and the lagoon outline in are both huge. Although, we don't just have the outline. We have the outline of the islands. We haven't built the islands yet. Okay. What's the significance of this building? So this building was constructed by Jevin as an Enderman farm. And he has repeatedly iterated on the design. This is his probably most impressive one visually yet, but I think from an engineering standpoint, it still works the same way as the other ones. Uh-oh, we need more rockets. Whoa, that's a pretty star. I heard you on my wireless back in 52, lying awake intently tuning in on you. If I was young, it didn't stop you coming through. Oh, uh-oh. So, anyway, yeah, just having this here feels nice. This feels a lot nicer. So, let's see. Let's refresh once again. Tips would be welcome. I'm going to start reading chapter 15 soon. So if y'all want a tip, I'd really like it if you tip now. So that way I can thank you before I start reading. Okay, so let's go ahead and toss that there. So, yeah, so these islands are going to be more developed over time. I'm going to wait to record. Maybe I should record that now. Yeah, let's try this real quick. They took the credit for your second symphony, rewritten by machines on new technology. And now I understand the problems you can see. Oh, uh-oh. Exploding rockets. Oh, uh-oh. Okay. Hey, we got a tip rolling in from Lost Cult Music for 3. Thank you very much, Lost Cult Music. That puts us now 17 away from the next face camera expansion milestone. Okay. Is the webcam active? Oh, sorry. Yeah, the webcam should be on. We're still setting up, and I had turned it off. Okay. So, what I wanted to show was that we've got the lagoon in here. Look at that. I found out you can also scroll and modify the zoom. Ooh. Ah. So I need to get the service roads set up on either side of the lagoon going into the building. But that's not going to be too much of a problem. Fajri Fernandez says the live title is wild. Well, we're about to be reading chapter 15 of Moby Dick. So I hope you read your pinned links, because that's where we've got that pinned. Okay. So let's see. What are we going to be working on while we read Moby Dick? Good question. I need to free up some inventory space, and then we're going to continue working on our mining out of these mountains here. We have quite a lot of mountain to mine out. I kind of want to... I was kind of thinking I would set up somewhere over here to record something. Okay. So if we take these off. I feel like I'm too close to the camera. Oh, but I gotta hold the zoom button or. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. That's something. I can reverse zoom. Oh, but look at that. Look at that crazy stretch. Wow, I don't think that we want that. Okay, hold on. We just want my lower body to not be visible, I think is the thing. Okay. Function F1. We're going to hit start recording real quick. We're going to do a quick recording segment. Start recording. Hermitcraft Season 9, Episode 17. Season 10. Season 10! Season 10. Episode 17. Segment Bravo. Take 1. And action. So here we go. Well, will you look at that? I have kind of knocked out this entire lagoon. It's, lagoony enough. Now, I haven't actually got the land done. There's, islands and stuff that need to go in there. We need to get the elevation on those right. But one thing I noticed is to the left of the lagoon, there's supposed to be a service road that's going to reach into the building. And unfortunately, the mountain basically absorbs the black line going across that indicates where the building is and seems to absorb where that service road is going to go. So for our next step on this project, we're going to do a good deal of cutting into the mountain on the left side over here of the lagoon, such that hopefully we can connect where the service road is going to go and meet the building. So let's go knock that out now. Time skip. Ah! Okay, face camera back on. Let's go ahead and put our gear back together. We need our overlay here. Okay, cool. So we're going to go empty our inventory, and then we can move forward with the rest of this project. Hey, Pat the Weirdo says, on behalf of Yipsy Pinball, we'd like to thank you for the raid on the pinball at the zoo tournament today. Hope everyone enjoyed the stream. Oh, hey, yeah. I'm glad that y'all had such a cool event. It was fun seeing Andy Bagwell in the No Quarter hoodie, because that's my hometown pinball bar here in Nashville. I participate in probably about 70 tournaments a year myself. I love the pinball scene, and it's great seeing people stream it. So thank y'all so much. I'm glad that y'all were streaming and being able to show off the hobby to new folks. My streams are weird, just so you know. Like, I don't expect pinball people to raid me back or send people here, because I do weird performance art in Minecraft, which is very niche, and it's not something that I think has universal appeal. I do my work expecting that. Like, look at this overlay. This is not how normal people stream. But you know what? It's what I do. And also I give bunny rabbits carrots, apparently. Oh, there's 2 more bunny rabbits over there. Wait. Why is that other oh no, it's showing the time lapse. I don't Yeah, my cameras are all my OBS, my cameras, everything's all over the place. It's weird stuff. Wild and wacky stuff. Okay. So, I think we are ready now to start mining this out. I say that. We actually need to disconnect and reconnect from the Minecraft server for technical reasons having to do with the nature of time-lapse rendering. So we're going to do that real quick. And then we're going to read a chapter of Moby Dick. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention. You guys joined Pat the Weirdo. You're coming back here on a night where Saturday nights I do really kind of monotonous tasks in Minecraft while I read public domain novels out loud. I read all of Dracula last year. This year I'm reading Moby Dick. The reason I chose Moby Dick is because even though it's not technically a science fiction novel, it anticipated the invention of Wikipedia better than any other science fiction novel ever has. In that the entire story is told like a guy you met at a party is like, "What up? It's your boy Ishmael. Man, I just got back from being on a ship where we hunted whales. Let me tell you how wild it was. Oh, by the way, let me get distracted on a 20-minute tangent where I'm looking stuff up on my phone about how a crow's nest was constructed originally." It's a weird novel. Ishmael is pretty unhinged. They had hinges back then, but he's not using them. Chaotic Being points out that Joe Hills is strange and unusual. Yes, thank you. So yeah, we're about to be reading a really bizarre novel that stretches the definition of the novel. People are like, isn't Moby Dick famously impenetrable to read? It's only impenetrable to read if you're not used to going down Wikipedia rabbit holes while people yell at you. It's a weird book. We're about to read chapter 15, which I have pinned in the Twitch and YouTube chats at the top there. Subsonic Gerbil says, my ADHD brain loved Moby Dick. And L Bubbly says, it's entertaining out loud. Yeah, it's a hard book to read because you're kind of just like, what is this guy thinking? But like, when you hear somebody else read it to you, it's just like, what is this guy thinking? It's a slightly different move. Okay. Also, we are running out of fireworks. So we're going to have to go buy more of those soon. Well, let's go lay our heads down and dream right here when the sun sets. So we'll let the sun set, then we'll go over here and work on our mining, and we will read Chapter 15 of Moby Dick, Chowder. So hopefully everybody has had time to pull up Chapter 15 on their own, because that's just what our lives are now. Okay. Need to move this so it's nestled beneath my Minecraft window here. Chapter 15 of Moby Dick, or The Whale, by Herman Melville. Chowder. It was quite late in the evening when the little Moss came snugly to anchor, and Queequeg and I went ashore, so we could attend to no business that day. At least none but a supper and a bed. The landlord of the Spouter Inn had recommended to us his cousin, Hosea Hussey of the Tripods, whom he asserted to be the proprietor of one of the best-kept hotels in all Nantucket. And, moreover, he had assured us that Cousin Hosea, as he called him, was famous for his chowders. In short, he plainly hinted that we could not possibly do better than to try pot luck at the Tripods. But the directions he had given us about keeping a yellow warehouse on our starboard hand till we opened a white church on the larboard, and then keeping that on the larboard hand till we made a corner 3 points to the starboard, and that done, then asked the first man we met where the place was. These crooked directions of his very much puzzled us at first, especially as, at the outset, Queequeg insisted that the yellow warehouse, our first point of departure, must be left on the larboard hand, whereas I had understood Peter Coffin to say that it was on the starboard. However, by dint of beating about a little in the dark, and now and then knocking up a peaceful inhabitant to inquire the way, we at last came to something which there was no mistaking. 2 enormous wooden pots, painted black, and suspended by asses' ears, swung from the cross trees of an old topmast planted in front of an old doorway. The horns of the cross trees were sawed off on the other side, so that this old topmast looked not a little like a gallows. Perhaps I was oversensitive to such impressions at the time, But I could not help but staring at the gallows with a vague misgiving. A sort of crick was in my neck as I gazed up at the two remaining horns. Yes, two of them. One for Queequeg and one for me. It's ominous, thinks I. A coffin, my innkeeper, upon landing at my first whaling port, tombstones staring at me in the whaling chapel, and here, a gallows. And a pair of prodigious black pots, too. Are these last throwing out oblique hints touching Tophet? I was called from these reflections by the sight of a freckled woman with yellow hair and a yellow gown standing in the porch of the inn, under a dull red lamp swinging there that looked much like an injured eye, and carrying on a brisk scolding with a man in a purple woolen shirt. "Get along with ye," said she to the man, "or I'll be combing ye." "Come on, Queequeg," said I. "All right, there's Mrs. Hussey." And so it turned out, Mr. Hosea Hussey being from home, but leaving Mrs. Hussey entirely competent to attend to all the affairs. Upon making known our desires for a supper and a bed, Mrs. Hussey, postponing further scolding for the present, ushered us into a little room, and seating us at a table spread with the relics of recently concluded repast, turned round to us and said, "Clam or cod?" "What's that about cards, madam?" said I with much politeness. "Clam or cod?" she repeated. "A clam for supper? A cold clam? Is that what you mean, Mrs. Hussey? But that's a rather cold and clammy reception in the winter-time, ain't it, Mrs. Hussey?" But being in a great hurry to resume scolding the man in the purple shirt, who was waiting for it in the entry, and seeming to hear nothing but the word clam, Mrs. Hussey hurried toward an open door leading to the kitchen, and bawling out, "Clam for two!" disappeared. "Queequeg, do you think we can make out a supper for us both on one clam?" However, a warm, savory steam from the kitchen served to belie the apparently cheerless prospect before us. But when that smoking chowder came in, the mystery was delightfully explained. Oh, sweet friends, hearken to me. It was made of small, juicy clams, scarcely bigger than hazelnuts, mixed with pounded ship biscuit and salted pork cut up into little flakes, the whole enriched with butter and plentifully seasoned with pepper and salt. Our appetites being sharpened by the frosty voyage, and, in particular, Queequeg seeing his favorite fishing food before him, and the chowder being surpassingly excellent, we dispatched it with great expedition, when, leaning back a moment, and bethinking me of Mrs. Hussey's clam and cod announcement, I thought I would try a little experiment. Step into the kitchen door, I uttered the word "cod" with great emphasis, and resumed my seat. In a few moments, the savory steam came forth again, but with a different flavor, and in good time a good cod chowder was placed before us. We resumed business, and while plying our spoons in the bowl, thinks I to myself, I wonder now if this here has any effect on the head. What's that stultifying saying about chowder-headed people? But look, Queequeg, ain't that a live eel in your bowl? Where's your harpoon? fishiest of all fishy places was the Tripots, which well deserved its name, for the pots there were always boiling chowders. Chowder for breakfast, chowder for dinner, chowder for supper, till you began to look for fish bones coming through your clothes. The area before the house was paved with clamshells. Mrs. Hussey wore a polished necklace of codfish vertebra, and Hosea Hussey had his account books bound in superior old shark skin. There was a fishy flavor to the milk, too, which I could not at all explain till one morning, happening to take a stroll along the beach among some fishermen's boats, I saw Hosea's cow brindled, feeding on fish remnants, and marching along the sand with each foot in a cod's decapitated head, looking very slipshod, I tell you. Supper concluded. We received a lamp and directions from Mrs. Hussey concerning the nearest way to bed. But as Queequeg was about to precede me up the stairs, the lady reached forth her arm and demanded his harpoon. She allowed no harpoons in her chambers. "Why not?" said I. "Every true whaleman sleeps with his harpoon, but why not?" "Because it's dangerous," says she. "Ever since young Stig's coming forth from that unfortunate voyage of him, when he was gone 4 years and a half, with only 3 barrels of eye, was found dead on my first floor back, with his harpoon in his side. Ever since then, I allow no boarders to take such dangerous weapons in their rooms at night. So, Mr. Queequeg," for she had learned his name, "I will just take this here iron and keep it for you till morning. But the chowder, clam, or cod tomorrow for breakfast, man?" "Both. And let's have a couple of smoked herrings by way of variety." And that concludes Chapter 15, Chowder of Moby Dick, or the Whale, by Herman Melville. I see we got 2 tips rolling in during the reading. Thank you for your patience. Just so you know, we do usually wait to read those until we are done with the given chapter we are on. So I appreciate it. Cozy Craft, tip in 2 5s. That's 10 together. And Cozy Craft has 2 messages here. Cozy Craft writes, "Been watching your streams on Twitch since the charity event. I love them. They're so fun and relaxing to watch while working." So thank you, Cozy Craft. The second message is, "You're also helping me be less afraid to record my voice. I grew up in Arkansas, very close to Memphis, and my accent makes me too scared to lol." That's short for laughing out loud. So yeah, no problem, Cozy Craft. I'm happy to encourage you in any way I can. If anybody else would like to tip, we are 7 away from our next face camera expansion milestone. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. I need to update a few things before we start the next chapter. For example, the next chapter is entitled The Ship. So I need to post in each chat, we're reading Moby Dick, chapter 16, and then post the direct link to the chapter. Okay. Replace pin message on YouTube, and we're gonna need to record. I streamed for 4 hours already today. Guys. To get the lagoon in. So yeah, this is definitely. Senator Void says that was a really good Arkansas accent. Thanks, Senator Void. Okay, let me see if let me see if there's an Evan Dom illustration of the ship. I'm not sure there is. for like this chapter, there might be. Oops. Scrolling all the way down. Da 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 da. I'm trying to find if there's a good picture of the ship that Evan Dom did from like the chapter of the ship, not like later on when there's like stuff happening on board. The Forge, the Carpenter, Leg and Arm, the Triworks, the Grand Armada. Cozycraft writes, the aggressive way you read my message complimenting your streams being relaxing is cracking me up. Thank you. I do what I can. Oh, wait. Peleg and Bildad. Okay, there's the prophet. Okay, here's the illustration of the ship. The Pequod. So here's the illustration for this chapter from Evan Dom. Somebody says, Casey Squirt says, has Ishmael ever gone whaling before, or is he just a fanboy? We're about to get to that. He's been on merchant vessels 4 times, but we'll see what the whalers think about that. Meanwhile, thank you, Erica, for tipping 7. So let's see, for tipping 10. We were 7 away from the next expansion. Now we're 3 past. So here we go. It's time to expand. Jost. We're going to lower the opacity now to 42%, and we're also going to turn the resolution of the camera up to 4K now that we're zoomed in this much. 4K doesn't work well at the smaller zoom levels, but okay. So we're about to read chapter 16, the ship. I think we can take down the setting up now sign. And we can take down the lagoon image because we're done working on the lagoon for now. Okay. Also, now that the lagoon is in, we can actually, like, trident around way better, which is actually super helpful at this stage of the project. Oh, no, I didn't empty my inventory. But the whole reason I went down there was to enter my inventory. Are you kidding? Sorry, I get distracted reading Moby Dick and looking at images. Okay. So let's grab, do we have more rockets? Yeah, we're gonna put these here right now. Okay, we don't need the axe at the moment either, so we're gonna get rid of that. Okay. Matthias, no, it won't let you post any links in chat. Don't bother trying. The auto mod knows what it wants, which is no links. Okay. So I think we're about ready to start reading. Let me make sure, one last check on that. Okay, we're all set. Chapter 16. The ship. In bed, we concocted our plans for the morrow. But to my surprise and no small concern, Queequeg now gave me to understand that he had been diligently consulting Yojo, the name of his carved little god, and Yojo had told him 2 or 3 times over, and strongly insisted upon it in every way, that instead of our going together among the whaling fleet in the harbor, and in concert selecting our craft, instead of this, I say, Yojo earnestly enjoined us that the selection of the ship should rest wholly with me, insomuch as Yojo purposed befriending us, and, in order to do so, had already pitched upon a vessel, which, if left to myself, I, Ishmael, should infallibly light upon, for all the world as though it had turned out by chance, and in that vessel I must immediately ship myself, for the present, irrespective of Queequeg. I had forgotten to mention that in many things, Queequeg placed great confidence in the excellence of Yojo's judgment and surprising forecast of things, and cherished Yojo with considerable esteem, as a rather good sort of god, who perhaps meant well enough upon the whole, but in all cases did not succeed upon his benevolent designs. Now, this plan of Queequeg's, or rather Yojo's, touching the selection of our craft, I did not like that plan at all. I had not a little relied upon Queequeg's sagacity to point out the whaler best fitted to carry us and our fortunes securely. But as all my remonstrances proved no effect upon Queequeg, I was obliged to acquiesce, and accordingly prepared to set about this business with a determined rushing sort of energy and vigor that should quickly settle the trifling little affair. Next morning, early, leaving Queequeg shut up with Yojo in our little bedroom, for it seemed it was some sort of Lent or Ramadan or day of fasting, humiliation, and prayer with Queequeg and Yojo that day. How it was, I never could find out, for though I applied myself to it several times, I could never master his liturgies and 39 articles. Leaving Queequeg then fasting on his tomahawk pipe, and Yojo warming himself at his sacrificial fire of shavings, I sallied out among the shipping. After much prolonged sauntering and many random inquiries, I learned that there were 3 ships up for 3 years' voyages: the Devil Dam, the Titbit, and the Pequod. Devil Dam, I do not know the origin of. Titbit is obvious. Pequod, you will no doubt remember, was the name of a celebrated tribe of Massachusetts Indians, now as extinct as the ancient Medes. I peered and pried about the Devil Dam, and hopped over to the Titbit, and finally, going on board the Pequod, looked around her for a moment, and then decided that this was the very ship for us. You may have seen many a quaint craft in your day. For aught I know, square-toed luggers, mountainous Japanese junks, butterbox galleots, and what not. But take my word for it, you never saw such a rare old craft as the same rare old Pequod. She was a ship of the old school. Rather small, if anything, with an old-fashioned, claw-footed look about her. Long-seasoned and weather-stained in the typhoons and calms of all 4 oceans. Her old hull's complexion was darkened like a French grenadier's, who has alike fought in Egypt and Siberia. Her venerable bows looked bearded. Her masts, cut somewhere on the coast of Japan, where her original ones were lost overboard in a gale. Her masts stood stiffly up, like the spines of 3 old kings of Cologne. Her ancient decks were worn and wrinkled, like the pilgrim worshipping flagstone in Canterbury Chapel, where Becket bled. But to all these her old antiquities were added new and marvelous features pertaining to the wild business that for more than half a century she had followed. Old Captain Peleg, many years her chief mate, before he commanded another vessel of his own, and now a retired seaman, was and one of the principal owners of the Pequod. This old Peleg during his term of chief mateship, had built upon her original grotesqueness and inlaid it all over with a quaintness of both material and device, unmatched by anything, except it be Thorkel Hake's carved buckler or bedstead. She was apparelled like any barbaric Ethiopian emperor, her neck heavy with pendants of polished ivory. She was a thing of trophies, a cannibal of a craft, tricking herself forth in the chaste bones of her enemies. All round, her unpaneled open bulwarks were garnished like one continuous jaw, with the long, sharp teeth of the sperm whale inserted there for pins to fasten her old hempen thews and tendons to. Those thews ran not through the base blocks of landwood, but deftly traveled over sheaves of one mass, curiously carved from the narrow lower jaw of her hereditary foe. The helmsman who's... I'm sorry. Those thews... Those thews ran not through base blocks of landwood, but deftly traversed over sheaves of sea ivory. Scorning a turnstile wheel at her reverend helm, she sported there a tiller, and that tiller was in one mass, curiously carved from the long, narrow lower jaw of her hereditary foe. The helmsman who steered by that tiller in a tempest felt like the Tartar, who holds back his fiery steed by clutching its jaw. A noble craft, but somehow a most melancholy. All noble things are touched with that. Now, when I looked about the quarterdeck for someone having authority in order to propose myself as a candidate for the voyage, at first I saw nobody, but I could not well overlook a strange sort of tent, or rather wigwam, pitched behind the main mast. It seemed only a temporary erection used in port. It was of a conical shape, some 10 feet high, consisting of long, huge slabs of limber black bone taken from the middle and highest parts of the right whale. Planted with their broad ends on the deck, a circle of these slabs laced together, mutually sloped toward each other, and at the apex united in a tufted point, where the loose hairy fibers waved fro and to like the top knot on some old Potawatomi sachem's head. A triangular opening faced toward the bows of the ship, so that the insider commanded a complete view forward. Probably should have been the bows of the ship. This is a really long chapter, so we're going to take a break in the middle of this one. Because I also... Whoops, that's the wrong picture. I wanted to send you another picture from Evan Dom of the two people we're about to meet. Am I terrible at scrolling? I am. I really wish that Tumblr had a better interface for this. Because, yeah, I want to find... So this chapter has another illustration that I wanted to share with y'all, which I'll get to eventually. La, la, la. Okay. I didn't want to... So Ishmael is about to meet two gentlemen, Peleg and Bildad. And there's an illustration of the both of them that I'm about to post. Okay. Just as a reminder, too, tips are welcome via paypal.me/Joe Hills and YouTube Super Chat. Stephanie Hall says, howdy, Joe. And chat, how is the reading going? It's going pretty well. I did not realize how much streaming for 4 hours earlier was going to slow me down now. But that's okay. We're doing good. These are two of the longest chapters in the book in a row. So previous streams we've done, I've had a lot more breaks. So when I know a chapter is going to be long, I'm going to take a little breather in the middle of it, like this. Let's go. Clearing this out up here. Grayscale says, love the reading. Very fun words to think about for 10 seconds, then lose track of where we are in the story. Yeah, what do you guys think so far? So the ship is outfitted kind of like, I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but the way that the whale bones are mounted to the ship, it kind of seems like a Mad Max type thing. Where it's like, it's already an ancient Victorian ship that's now got like whale bones from like, it's got like teeth and jaws and stuff all over the front of the ship. I think a lot of people don't realize how much Mad Max draws from Moby Dick. The name of the blog on Tumblr is called Moby Dick Illustrated. It's by Evan Dom, one of my favorite illustrators. He's the reason that I read Moby Dick in the first place. Mad Max is basically land-based Moby Dick. Yeah, you're not wrong. What do I mean by ancient? So, the ship that he's about to board is, like, already 100 years old. It's not... Or the ship that he's boarded is not a modern ship. It's an old ship that's been updated, but also, like, retrofitted. Right? It's a century old when he boards it. And it's already had, like, its mast replaced in Japan after getting smashed up in a gale. Like, most of the parts of the ship are not the original parts at this point. But it's also been, like, heavily modded and ornamented. It's, so, the story takes place in around the 1850s. Like, Melville wrote this in, like, 1851, right? But this is, like, a ship from, like, the 1750s. It's a ship from, like, before America was founded. The ship has been replaced as much as the crew has. Exactly, Stormy, yeah. So, anyway, Woodland Juliet says that makes sense. It's Georgian. Yeah, Georgian might be the era. Because King George would have been the king when it was made. Yeah, that makes sense. Not thrilled with how dark it gets over here. We need to go lay our heads down and dream before we start reading the rest of the chapter. Pickle Monkey tips 5 and says, thanks for the reading very much. Or enjoying the reading very much. Thank you. Yeah, Evan Dom is an incredible artist. I have been a huge fan of Evan Dom's work for, I don't know, probably 2 decades now. Victorian would have been contemporary to Melville when he was writing. Ah, thank you. So, yeah, it's as far away. This ship is as old to Ishmael as Victorian stuff is to us, I guess I should say. But yeah, let's get that 5 on the Abacus. Thank you again to Pickled Monkey. That puts us now 12 away from the next Face Gamer expansion milestone. And we are going to continue reading this chapter. And we are about to meet Peleg and Bildad, who, once again, here's the illustration of them. Okay. So, anyway. There's a tent on the decks of the ship. And Ishmael has decided to go look inside. You have to go inside. And, half concealed in this queer tenement, I at length found one who by his aspect seemed to have authority, and who, it being noon and the ship's work suspended, was now enjoying respite from the burden of command. He was seated in an old-fashioned oaken chair, wriggling all over with curious carvings, and the bottom of which was formed of a stout interlacing of the same elastic stuff of which the wigwam was constructed. There was nothing so particular, perhaps, about the appearance of the elderly man I saw. He was brown and brawny, like most old seamen, and heavily rolled up in blue pilot cloth, cut in the Quaker style. Only there was a fine and almost microscopic network of the minutest wrinkles interlacing round his eyes, which must have arisen from his continual sailings in many hard gales, and always looking to windward, for this causes the muscles about the eyes to become pursed together. Such eye wrinkles are very effectual in a scowl. "Is this the captain of the Pequod?" said I, advancing to the door of the tent.
"Supposing it too be the captain of the Pequod, what dost thou want of him?"
he demanded. "I was thinking of shipping."
"Thou wast thou? I see thou art no Nantucketeer. Ever been in a stove boat?"
"No, sir, I never have."
"Dost know nothing at all about whaling, I dare say, eh?"
"Nothing, sir, but I have no doubt I shall soon learn. I've been on several voyages in the merchant service, and I think that—"
"Merchant service be damned! Talk not that lingo to me. Dost see that leg? I'll take that leg away from thy stern if thou talkest of the merchant service to me again. Merchant service, indeed! I suppose now you feel considerable proud of having served in those merchant ships. But, flukes, man, what makes thee want to go a-whaling, eh? Looks a little suspicious, don't it, eh? Hast thou not been a pirate, hast thou? Didst thou not rob thy last cabin, didst thou? Dost not think of murdering the officers when thou gettest to sea?"
I protested my innocence of these things. I saw that under the mask of all these half-humorous innuendos, this old seaman, as an insulated Quakerish Nantucketer, was full of his insular prejudices, and rather distrustful of all aliens, unless they hailed from Cape Cod or the Vineyard.
"But what takes thee a-whaling? I want to know that before I would think of shipping ye."
"Well, sir, I want to see what whaling is. I want to see the world."
"Want to see what whaling is? Have ye clapped eye on Captain Ahab?"
"Who is Captain Ahab, sir?"
"I thought so. Captain Ahab is the captain of this ship."
"I was mistaken then. I thought I was talking to the captain himself."
Thou art speaking to Captain Peleg. That's who ye are speaking to, young man. It belongs to me and Captain Bildad to see the Pequod fitted out for the voyage and supplied with all her needs, including crew. We are part owners and agents, but as I was going to say, if thou wantest to know what whaling is, as thou tellest you do, I can put ye in a way of finding it out before ye bind yourself to it, past backing out. Clap eye on Captain Ahab, young man, and thou wilt find he has only one leg.
What do you mean, sir? Was the other one lost by a whale?
Lost by a whale? Young man, come nearer to me. It was devoured, chewed up, crunched by the monstrousest parmacetti that ever clipped a boat. Ugh. Whoa.
I was a little alarmed by his energy, perhaps also a little touched at the hearty grief in his concluding exclamation, but said as calmly as I could, "What you say is no doubt true enough, sir. But how could I know that there was any particular ferocity in that particular whale, though indeed I might have inferred as much from the simple fact of the accident?"
Look ye now, young man, thy lungs are sort of soft. Do you see? Thou dost not talk shark a bit. Sure, you been to sea before now? Sure of that?
"Sir," said I thought I had told you I had been 4 voyages in the merchant—"
Hard down on that! Mind what I said about the merchant service. Don't aggravate me. I won't have it. But let us understand each other. I have given thee a hint about what whaling is. Do ye yet feel inclined for it?
"I do, sir."
Very good. Now, art thou the man to pitch a harpoon down a live whale's throat and then jump after it? Answer quick.
"I am, sir, if it should be positively indispensable to do so, not to be got rid of, that is, which I don't take to be the fact."
Good again. Now then, thou not only wantest to go a whalin', to find out by experience what whalin' is, but ye also want to go in order to see the world? Was that not what ye said? I thought so. Well, then, just step forward there and take a peep over the weather bow, and then back to me and tell me what ye see there.
For a moment, I stood a little puzzled by this curious request, not knowing exactly how to take it, whether humorously or in earnest. But concentrating all his crow's feet into one scowl, Captain Peleg started me on the errand. Going forward and glancing over the weather bow, I perceived that the ship swinging to her anchor with the flood tide was now obliquely pointing toward the open ocean. The prospect was unlimited, but exceedingly monotonous and forbidding. Not the slightest variety that I could see.
Well, what's the report?
Said Peleg when I came back.
What did you see?
Not much, I replied. Nothing but water. Considerable horizon, though. And there's a squall coming up, I think.
Well, what dost thou then think of seeing the world? Do you wish to go round Cape Horn to see any more of it, eh? Can't you see the world where you stand?
I was a little staggered, but go a whalin' I must, and I would, and the Pequod was as good a ship as any. I thought it the best, and I now repeated this all to Peleg. Seeing me so determined, he expressed his willingness to ship with me, or to ship me.
And thou mayest as well sign the papers right off,
He added,
come along with ye.
and, so saying, he led the way below deck into the cabin. All right, this is one of the longest chapters in the book, so I'm going to take a quick break. So here's a picture again of Captain Peleg, and we're about to meet Captain Bildad. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repost the tipping link as well. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Good times with Scar join the game. Gotta always say welcome back now, Scar. Before too far, he runs toward our face. Honeybee says he looks so sad. El Bubbly says, I don't think Ishmael is most quick on the draw. And El Bubbly says, does the ship have 3 captains? Yeah, so the deal is, and Peleg explained this earlier, but like in kind of archaic terms, so I'm going to explain it again now. So the ship's previous captains have an ownership stake in the vessel and are involved in the unloading of cargo, the loading of supplies, and the hiring of new crew. So basically, the 2 retired captains still work on... This ship goes out on a 3-year journey, right? And when it comes into port, the retired captains who have previously taken it out take over repairs and unloading and provisioning and crew hiring for the next 3-year journey, while the primary captain, who's like in charge of the ship when it's at sea, rests. So basically, they get 3 years off and then work for a couple months, and the main captain, the active captain, works for 3 years and gets a couple months off. So there's only 1 captain on the ship when it goes out to sea, but there's 2 captains on the ship for reprovisioning. And this is basically the only time of the year they work. Yeah, so Ahab is the ship's, like, active captain, and these other 2 retired captains are in charge of hiring Ishmael and the other crew. Does that make sense? Yeah, so they own a huge... Yeah, they get a huge amount of profit from the journey when the ship goes out and comes back, because they're part owners of the ship. And basically, the current captain is working toward owning more of the ship. Yeah, we're taking a break from reading for the time being. We're in the middle of a chapter, but we're taking a break because it's a really long chapter. Also, Kelly, thank you for tipping 5. That is now going to put us 7 away from the next Face Camera expansion milestone. Kelly says, thank you for reading to us. And Janky Reef says, it's basically like a working retirement. Yeah, but once again, the ship goes out for a 3-month voyage at a time. Or sorry, not 3 month, 3-year voyage at a time. So basically, the retired captains only have to work for a few months every 3 years. So... Yeah, it's not a bad gig. Okay, so we're gonna put that stone in there. And we're gonna put this stuff in here. 1 second while I blow my nose. Yeah, my allergies have definitely been acting up since I had the windows open so much. Hey, got another tip rolling in. Let's see who that one's from. Well, it showed up on my phone, but it hasn't showed up in the computer yet. So it looks like we got 10. Ah, here it is. We got 10 rolling in from Erica. Thank you, Erica. We were 7 away from the next Face Gamer expansion milestone. Now we are 3 past. So here we go. It's time to expand Joost. Do. Then we are going to lower the Joe Pasty now to 32%. We are only 17 away from the next expansion. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Meep says, Joe, what's your favorite sea shanty? I mean, the Wellerman's kind of a trite answer, but like it's a really good sea shanty. But my actual favorite shanty is the Bee Stinger Star Shanty by Brosephine, who was in here the other night. Brosephine is a very talented person. Let me see if I can find it. But it's like a diaspora shanty. Here it is. Oh, no, don't play. Don't play. I don't have the copyright. Josephine's not here to give me permission, but, oh, away we will go for the joy of the road and the joy of the stories we will write. And we will never fear, though the dark is drawing near, for we know our way through the night. Overseas to the dawning horizon, I will keep my eyes on a home calling me. I will see, on the day I arrive in, I will come alive in a home calling me. Now there may come a day where we find we're swept away in a boat made of trouble and travail. But our strength, it'll rise with the light that fills our eyes, for we never met a ship we couldn't sail. To the stars, jewels shine on black velvet. We will chart a course set to a home that we know. In the stars, set in bright constellation, a new generation singing homeward we go. Overseas to the stars and that dawning horizon, we will set our eyes on a home that we know. We will see in the stars, oh, that bright constellation will come alive singing, homeward we go. Yeah, so this is... Brosephine does a way better job of singing this than I do. But it's basically a song about a people that were displaced from their home planet and are now like sailors on an alien world. And they dream of someday navigating back to their home world when it's safe. And it's structured as a sea shanty, and I'm not doing it justice. But it's, like, I heard that, like, for the first time, like, when I was at work, and I'm like, because I saw Brosephine posted on Twitter, like, guys, I wrote a shanty, here it is. And, like, I like, listened to it for the first time, and I just, like, broke down sobbing at my desk, and I sent it to Quinn, and I'm like, this is the best folk music! This is what we need to be doing! like Brosephine is not a professional musician, but has captured something here that just is so like it captures the spirit of the story that she's basing this off of really well, which I was familiar with. Because like, and if you don't know the story, it's maybe not as meaningful to you. But like, I was like, this captures exactly the concept of the story and the feeling of this lost people, and it's a song, and like the way Josephine recorded it is like a bunch of people singing and clapping and stomping their feet, and I'm like, obviously we can't make this song, but like when we make songs, it should be this good. This is on Spotify and Apple Music. I just posted the link. It's on SoundCloud. I'll post it on the Discord too. But yeah, that's probably my favorite shanty. And it's written by somebody I know 4 years ago. But it's really good, you guys. Harrier Hawk says your eyeball is distracting. What is it distracting you from? If it's distracting you from school, then go pay attention to your schoolwork. If it's distracting you from breaking these blocks, I don't know that breaking these blocks would have held your attention anyway. But yeah, you can listen to that for free on SoundCloud. Okay, so let's go get this stuff going on here. Okay. More blocks going in chest before we resume reading all the rest of Moby Dick. Does SoundCloud work for androids? I don't know how androids... I don't design robots for a living, you guys. I don't know how androids work or if they get wet in SoundClouds. This is outside of my realm of experience. And expertise. Okay. Where were we? Okay. One last reminder that tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat, and then we're going to resume this incredibly long chapter. This is one of the longest chapters of the book so far. Oh, bubbly. I'm not a mechanical engineer or a positronic engineer or whatever. I gotta say, one of my favorite things in science fiction books is when, like, they're, like, dealing with, like, alien technology that's, like, less advanced than them. I think this was in one of the, Christine Catherine Roosh books, where they're, like, trying to, like, basically there's an alien planet that has, is auctioning a bunch of artwork, but they don't realize that the artwork is actually, like, alien grenades. Like, look at these beautiful sculptures, you know? And, so basically the aliens are trying to break into the auction house to steal, you know, basically a massive stockpile of grenades that they apparently left on a planet somewhere, back from the auctioneers. And they're, like, trying to figure out how the security system works, and one of them is just like, oh no, is this electrical? What year is this? It's just like they just can't believe that somebody's still using electricity in a building. But yeah, like the whole short story is this great confluence of like, so the alien technology is like stupidly overpowered, but the aliens have no domain specific knowledge with like um most like with the technology of the era on the planet that they're dealing with. And so it's just like, oh, these people aren't going to be any threat to us. We're invisible and they can't see us and blah blah blah. And then like when the first security alarm goes off, the residents of the planet's like troop deployment ship, which is like a vertical takeoff and landing jet, just like lands on top of where a bunch of them are like were standing, because they were all standing invisible in like the nearest open space to the building. And all of a sudden it's just like, oh no, there's like a jet with like jets pointed down at them, like landing really fast. And it's just like, oh, we were not prepared for this. We were not. Why would someone have that much fire pointed out of the bottom of something that's dropping on top of us? Like, this has gone sideways. This job is not going well. It's a classic oops, as Meep points out. What is this story called? So it's a story called Ivory Trees, and it's a two-parter. The first part is about the people discovering the alien tech, and then the second part is about the aliens trying to rob the auction house. It's called Ivory Trees, though. It's really good. Hey, thank you very much to Janky Reese for 10, who says, Joe Hill's reading Moby Dick is a great way to top off my birthday. Thanks. So that's going to get us now 7 away from the next face camera expansion milestone. It was either an analog or Asimov's, Mr. Hardluck, but then they published it as a book, as a standalone later. But real quick, for Janky Reefs, Feliz cumpleaños, Sati. Feliz cumpleaños, Sati. Feliz cumpleaños a Janky Reefs. Feliz cumpleaños, Sati. Y muchas más. But yeah, this story is relatively new. It came out. The first half was published in Analog or Asimov's. I don't remember which one. Right before I went to Wisconsin last summer. And then the second half, I don't know if the second half was published in Analog. I think it might have been just when they made the novel version. They put the whole thing together. But yeah, I bought it on Apple Books because that's where I buy most of my books. But yeah, Christine Catherine Roosh. I could find a link to it real quick on her website. So, Ivory Trees, chriswrites.com. Yeah, it looks like the ebook is $5, so it's part of the diving series, which I've talked about extensively. When the discovery of a bunker reveals a treasure trove of ancient artifacts, interested parties throughout the Empire want a piece of the action. But the finds draw attention from outside the Empire as well. Attention from someone willing to do whatever it takes to outmaneuver the Empire and secure the collection. Yeah. El Bubbly says, I always end up with notes about stuff to check out after the Saturday reading streams. That's good, though. I want to encourage people to check out cool stuff. I think Christine Catherine Roosh is like this is not somebody who's like an unknown. She edited, very notable anthologies for years and is highly well regarded in the field of science fiction. But for a lot of people who aren't like super focused on science fiction, they might not realize that her work exists, right? So yeah, I'm always happy to encourage people who like have maybe wanting to get more into like kind of niche sci-fi. I think that she's one of the best niche sci-fi authors in the world. But like, it's not stuff that I would expect to all of a sudden become the next like thing that everybody reads. Ken Dreadful, yeah, we're gonna be reading more of Moby Dick shortly. I'm just taking a break. Because this chapter has a lot of... It's a long chapter. Hey, thank you very much to Darlana for tipping 10. That's going to get us 3 past our next face camera expansion. Here we go. Expand Jost. Do. Yeah, I would describe niche sci-fi as, like, anything that, like, it's not written to get a huge audience. It's written to tell the story the author wants to tell. Yeah, Orson Scott Card isn't the best person. I'm not going to recommend his work. Yeah. So anyway, so Captain Peleg has just led Ishmael below decks into the cabin. Oh, is Etho online? Even in... I want to hang out with Scar and B-dubs, but I'm reading Moby Dick. They're hanging out early. So sometimes after the stream ends, we hang out and chat like off camera and just get to know each other better, and it's really fun. But how do the camera expansions work? Because I get nauseous from the current view. We are currently only 17 away from the next face camera expansion milestone. The camera gets bigger when we hit tipping milestones. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Okay. Man, the YouTube chat is like totally dead. Or is that just like... Is that just on my end? Do I need to refresh it? No, I don't know. Okay. So let's go meet Captain Bildad. Seated on the transom was what seemed to me a most uncommon and surprising figure. It turned out to be Captain Bildad, who, along with Captain Peleg, was one of the largest owners of the vessel. The other shares, as is sometimes the case in these ports, being held by a crowd of old annuitants, widows, fatherless children, and chancery wards, each owning about the value of a timberhead or a foot or plank or a nail or two in the ship. People in Nantucket invest their money in whaling vessels the same way you do yours, in approved stocks, bringing in good interest. Now, Bildad, like Peleg, and indeed many other Nantucketers, was a Quaker, the island having been originally settled by that sect, and to this day its inhabitants in general retain an uncommon measure the peculiarities of the Quaker, only variously and anomalously modified by things altogether alien and heterogeneous. For some of these same Quakers are the most sanguinary of all sailors and whale hunters. They are fighting Quakers. They are Quakers with a vengeance. So that there are instances of these men who, named with scripture names, a singularly common fashion on the island, and in childhood, naturally imbibing the stately dramatic thee and thou of the Quaker idiom, still, from the audacious, daring, and boundless adventure of their subsequent lives, strangely blend with these unoutgrown peculiarities. A thousand bold dashes of character, not unworthy a Scandinavian sea king or a poetical pagan Roman. And when these things unite in a man of greatly superior natural force, with a globular brain and a ponderous heart, who has also, by the stillness and seclusion of many long night watches in the remotest waters, and beneath constellations never seen here at the north, been led to think untraditionally and independently, receiving all of nature's sweet or savage impressions fresh from her own virgin, voluntary, and confiding breast, and thereby chiefly, but with some help from accidental advantages, to learn a bold and nervous, lofty language, that man makes one in a whole nation census, a mighty pageant creature, armed for noble tragedies. Nor will it at all detract from him, dramatically regarded, if either by birth or other circumstances he have what seem a half wilful, overruling morbidness at the bottom of his nature. For all men tragically great are made so through a certain morbidness. Be sure of this, O young ambition. All mortal greatness is but disease. But as yet we have not to do with such a one, but with another, and still a man, who, if indeed peculiar, it only results from another phase of the Quaker, modified by individual circumstances. Like Captain Peleg, Captain Bildad was a well-to-do, retired whaleman. But, unlike Captain Peleg, who cared not a rush for what are called serious things, and indeed deemed those same self-serious things the veriest of all trifles, Captain Bildad had not only been originally educated, according to the strictest set of Nantucket Quakerism, but all his subsequent ocean life, and the sight of many unclad, lovely island creatures round the Horn, all that had not moved his native-born Quaker one single jot, had not so much as altered one angle of his vest. Still, for all this immutableness, was there some lack of common consistency about worthy Captain Bildad? Though refusing, from conscientious scruples, to bear arms against land invaders, yet himself had illimitably invaded the Atlantic and Pacific, and though a sworn foe to human bloodshed, yet had he in his straight-bodied coat spilled tons upon tons of Leviathan gore. How now, in the contemplative evenings of his days, the pious Bildad reconciled these things in the reminiscence, I do not know, but it did not seem to concern him much, and very probably He had long since come to the sage and sensible conclusion that a man's religion is one thing and the world another. This world pays dividends. Rising from a little cabin boy in short clothes of the drabbest drab to a harpooner in a broad, shad-bellied waistcoat, from that becoming a boat header, chief mate and captain, and finally a ship owner. Bildad, as I have hinted before, had concluded his adventurous career by wholly retiring from active life at the goodly age of 60 and dedicating his remaining days to the quiet receiving of his well-earned income. Now, Bildad, I am sorry to say, had the reputation of being an incorrigible old hunk, and in his seagoing days, a bitter, hard taskmaster. They told me in Nantucket, though it certainly seems a curious story, that when he sailed the old Cattegat whaleman, his crew, upon arriving home, were mostly all carried ashore to the hospital, sore exhausted and worn out. For a pious man, especially for a Quaker, he was certainly rather hard-headed, to say the least. He never used to swear, though, at his men, they said, but somehow he got an inordinate quantity of cruel, unmitigated hard work out of them. When Bildad was a chief mate, to have his drab-colored eye intently looking at you made you feel completely nervous, till you could clutch something, a hammer or a marling spike, and go to work like mad at something or another, no mind what. Indolence and idleness perished before him. His own person was the exact embodiment of utilitarian character. On his long, gaunt body, he carried no spare flesh, no superfluous beard, his chin having a soft, economical nap to it, like the worn nap of his broad-brimmed hat. Such, then, was the person that I saw seated on the transom when I followed Captain Peleg down into the cabin. The space between decks was small. And there, sat upright, was old Captain Bildad, who always sat so, and never leaned, and this to save his coattails. His broad brim was placed beside him, his legs were stiffly crossed, his drab vesture was buttoned up to his chin, and his spectacles on nose, he seemed absorbed in reading from a ponderous volume.
Bildad,
Cried Captain Peleg.
at it again, Bildad, eh? Ye have been studying those scriptures now for the last 30 years, to my certain knowledge. How far you got, Bildad?
As if long habituated to such profane talk from his old shipmate, Bildad, without noticing his present irreverence, quietly looked up, and seeing me, glanced again, inquiringly, toward Peleg.
He says he's our man, Bildad. He says he wants to ship. Dost thee?
Said Bildad in a hollow tone, and turning round to me. I dost, said I unconsciously. He was so intense a Quaker.
What do ye think of him, Bildad?
Said Peleg.
He'll do,
said Bildad, eyeing me, and then went on spelling his away at his book in a mumbling tone not quite audible. I thought him the queerest old Quaker I ever saw, especially as Peleg, his friend and old shipmate, seemed such a blusterer. But I said nothing, only looking round me sharply. Peleg now threw open a chest, and drawing forth the ship's articles, placed pen and ink before him, and seated himself at a little table. I began to think it was high time to settle with myself at what terms I would be willing to engage for the voyage. I was already aware that in the whaling business, they paid no wages, but all hands, including the captain, received certain shares of the profit, called lays, and that these lays were proportioned to the degree of importance pertaining to the respective duties of the ship's company. I was also aware that being a green hand at whaling, my own lay would not be very large. But considering that I was used to the sea, could steer a ship, splice a rope, and all that, I made no doubt, from all I had heard, that I should be offered at least the 275th lay. That is, the 275th part of the clear net proceeds of the voyage, whatever that might eventually amount to. Although the 275th lay was called a rather long lay, yet it was better than nothing, and, if we had a lucky voyage, might pretty nearly pay for the clothing I would wear out on it, not to speak for my 3 years of beef and board, for which I would not have to pay 1 stiver. It might be thought that this is a poor way to accumulate a princely fortune, and so it was, a very poor way indeed. But I am one of those that never take on about princely fortunes, and am quite content if the world is ready to board and lodge me, while I am putting up at this grim sign of the thundercloud. Upon the whole, I thought the 275th lay would be about the fair thing. But would not have been surprised had I been offered the 200th, considering I was of a broad-shouldered make. But one thing, nevertheless, that made me a little distrustful about receiving a generous share of the profits was this. Ashore, I had heard something of both Captain Peleg and his unaccountable old crony Bildad, how they, being the principal proprietors of the Pequod, therefore the other and more inconsiderable and scattered owners, left nearly the whole management of the ship's affairs to these two. And I did not know but what the stingy old Bildad might have a mighty deal to say about shipping hands, especially as I now found him aboard the Pequod, quite at home there in the cabin, and reading his Bible as if at his own fireside. Now, while Peleg was vainly trying to mend a pen with his jackknife, old Bildad, to my no small surprise, considering that he was such an interested party in all these proceedings, Bildad never heeded us, but went on mumbling out of his book.
Lay not for yourselves treasures upon earth, where Captain Bildad, well,
interrupted Peleg.
What do you say? What lay shall we give this young man? Thou knowest best,
was a sepulchral reply.
The 777th lay wouldn't be too much, would it? Where moth and rust do corrupt but lay.
Lay indeed, thought I, and such a lay, the 777th. Well, old Bildad, you are determined that I for one shall not lay up many lays here below, where moth and rust do corrupt. It was an exceedingly long lay, that. Indeed, and though from the magnitude of the figure it might first deceive a landsman, yet the slightest consideration will show you that though 777 gold, sorry, that is though 777 is a pretty large number, yet when you come to make a tenth of it, you will then see, I say, that the 777th part of a farthing is a good deal less than 777 gold doubloons. And so I thought at the time.
Why, blast your eyes, Bildad,
Cried Peleg.
Thou dost not want to swindle this young man. He must have more than that. 777th.
Again, said Bildad, without lifting his eyes, and then went on mumbling,
For where there your treasure is, there will be your heart also. I am going to put him down for the 300th,
said Peleg.
Do you hear that, Bildad? The 300th lay, I say.
Bildad laid down his book, and turning solemnly toward him, said,
Captain Peleg, thou hast a generous heart, but thou must consider the duty thou owest to the other owners of the ship, widows and orphans, many of them, and that if we too abundantly reward the labors of this young man, we may be taking the bread from those widows and orphans. The 777th lay, Captain Peleg. Thou, Bildad,
roared Peleg, starting up and clattering about the cabin.
Blast ye, Bildad! If I had followed thy advice in these matters, I would afore now had a conscience to lug about that would be heavy enough to founder the largest ships that e'er sailed around Cape Horn. Captain Peleg,
said Bildad steadily,
thy conscience may be drawing 10 inches of water, or 10 fathoms. I cannot tell. But as thou art still an impenitent man, Captain Peleg, I greatly fear lest thy conscience be but a leaky one, and will in the end sink thee foundering down to the fiery pit, Captain Peleg. Fiery pit? Fiery pit! Ye insult me, man, past all natural bearing. Ye insult me. It's an ill-fired outrage to tell any creature he's bound to hell. Flukes and flames. Bildad, say that again to me, and start my soul boats. But I'll swallow a live goat with all the hair and horns on. Out of the cabin, ye canting, drab-colored son of a wooden gun, or a straight wake with ye.
As he thundered all this out, he made a rush at Bildad, but with a marvelous oblique sliding celerity, Bildad, for the time, eluded him. Alarmed at the terrible outburst between the two principal and responsible owners of the ship, and feeling half a mind to give up the idea of sailing in a vessel so questionably owned and temporarily commanded, I stepped aside from the door to give egress to Bildad, who, I made no doubt, was all eagerness to vanish before the awakened wrath of Peleg. But, to my astonishment, he sat down again on the transom very quietly and seemed to have not the slightest intention of withdrawing. He seemed quite used to impenitent Peleg and his ways. As for Peleg, after letting off his rage as he had, there seemed no more left in him, and he too sat down like a lamb, though he twitched a little, as if still nervously agitated.
Whoa,
He whistled at last.
the squalls got off to leeward, I think. Bildad, thou used to be good at sharpening a lance. Mend that pen, will ye? My jackknife here needs the grindstone. That's he. Thank you, Bildad. Now, then, my young man, Ishmael's they name, didn't you say? Well, down you go here, Ishmael, for the 300th lay.
Captain Peleg, said I have a friend with me who wants to ship too. Shall I bring him down tomorrow?
To be sure,
Said Peleg.
fetch him along, and we'll look at him. What lay does he want?
Groaned Bildad, glancing up from the book in which he had been burying himself.
Oh, never mind thee about that, Bildad.
Said Peleg,
Has he ever whaled it any?
turning to me. Killed more whales than I can count, Captain Peleg.
Well, bring him along then.
And after signing the papers, off I went, nothing doubting but that I had done a good morning's work, and that the Pequod was the identical ship that Yojo had provided to carry Queequeg and me round the Cape. But I had not proceeded far when I began to bethink me that the captain with whom I was to sail yet remained unseen by me. Though, indeed, in many cases a whale ship will be completely fitted out and receive all her crew on board ere the captain makes himself visible by arriving to take command. For sometimes these voyages are so prolonged, and the shore intervals at home so exceedingly brief, that if the captain have a family, or any absorbing concernments of the sort, he does not trouble himself much about his ship at port, but leaves her owners to all till all is ready for sea. However, it is always well to have a look about him before irrevocably committing yourself into his hands. Turning back, I accosted Captain Peleg, inquiring where Captain Ahab was to be found.
And what dost thou want with Captain Ahab? It's all right enough. Thou art shipped.
Yes, but I should like to see him.
But I don't think thou wilt be able to at present. I don't know exactly what's the matter with him, but he keeps close inside the house. Sort of sick, and yet he doesn't look so. In fact, he ain't sick, but no, he ain't well either. Anyhow, young man, he won't always see me, so I don't suppose he will thee. He's a queer man, Captain Ahab, some think, but a good one. Oh, thou will like him well enough. No fear. No fear. He's a grand, ungodly, godlike man, Captain Ahab. Doesn't speak much, but when he does speak, Then you may well listen. Mark ye, be forewarned, Ahab's above the common. Ahab's been in colleges as well as among the cannibals. Been used to deeper wonders than the waves. Fixed his fiery lance in mightier, stronger foes than whales. His lance, aye, the keenest and surest that out of all our isle. Oh, he ain't Captain Bildad. No, and he ain't Captain Peleg. He's Ahab, boy. And Ahab, of old, thou knowest, was a crowned king.
And a very vile one. When that wicked king was slain, the dogs, did they not lick his blood?
Come hither to me, hither, hither.
Said Peleg with a significance in his eye that nearly startled me.
Look, ye lad, never say that on board the Pequod. Never say it anywhere. Captain Ahab did not name himself. 'Twas a foolish, ignorant whim of his crazy, widowed mother, who died when he was only a 12-month-old. And yet, the old squatistic at Gayhead said that the name would somehow prove prophetic. And perhaps other fools like her may tell thee the same. I wish to warn thee, it's a lie. I know Captain Ahab well. I've sailed with him as a mate many years. Years ago. I know what he is. A good man. Not a pious good man like Bildad, but a swearing good man. Something like me. Only there's a great deal more of him? Yeah. I know he was never very jolly, and I know that on the passage home he was a little out of his mind for a spell, but it was the sharp shooting pains in the bleeding stump that brought that about, as anyone might see. I know, too, that ever since he lost his leg last voyage by that accursed whale, he's been, kind of moody, desperate moody, and, savage sometimes, but that'll all pass off. And once for all, let me tell thee and assure thee, young man, it's better to sail with a moody good captain than a laughing bad one. So, goodbye to thee, and wrong not Captain Ahab, because he happens to have a wicked name. Besides, my boy, he has a wife, not 3 voyages wedded, a sweet, resigned girl. Think of that. By that sweet girl, that old man has a child. Hold ye, then, there can be any utter, hopeless harm in Ahab? No, my lad, stricken, blasted if he be, Ahab has his humanities.
And as I walked away, I was full of thoughtfulness. What had been incidentally revealed to me of Captain Ahab filled me with a certain wild vagueness of painfulness concerning him. And somehow, at the time, I felt a sympathy and a sorrow for him. But I don't know for what, unless it was the cruel loss of his leg. And yet, I also felt a strange awe of him. But that sort of awe, which I cannot all describe, was not exactly awe. I don't know what it was. But I felt it. And it did not disincline me towards him, though I felt impatience at what seemed like mystery in him, so imperfectly as he was known to me then. However, my thoughts were at length carried in other directions, so that for the present, dark Ahab slipped my mind. And that concludes chapter 16 of Moby Dick or the Whale by Herman Melville. If you are enjoying this reading, tips are welcome via paypal.me/joehills, then YouTube Super Chat. Okay, I think this whole thing here is full. We're going to go to one of the other chest monsters. By which I mean chest ziggurats. Grayscale says bomb chapter. Yeah, we're finally making progress. He got on a whaling ship. It took to chapter 16, but he got on a boat that hunts whales. Hope y'all are enjoying it. 20 Clown 20 tips 5 and says, thank you for doing these weekly readings and bringing more joy to our Saturday nights. You are such a pleasant and captivating voice. Thank you so much. That puts us now 12 away from our next Face Camera expansion milestone. I appreciate it. Okay. Ken Dreadful says, in true Ishmael fashion, he found the weirdest possible boat with the weirdest people on it. Yeah. Zajen says, there are 135 chapters. Wow. In fairness, though, most of the chapters are way shorter. Most weeks we read 4 or 5 chapters. This is a week we're only reading 2. I'm not going to start chapter 3 because it's also a kind of long one. It's not that long, but we are 2 hours into this, and I streamed for 4 hours earlier today. So I'm just going to do a little bit of terraforming for now. And then probably going to keep terraforming and hang out with the other hermits for a little bit off camera. But I'm not ready for that yet. We still need to get this, we need to get this mined out as far as these pumpkins. Oh boy, that is... We did not get that far tonight. Yeah, okay. Mouse Cake says, my significant other just said that Herman Melville has a talent to say so little with so many words. Yeah, but that's what makes the book fun, you know? It's a very rambling story from a very ludicrous fellow. This is the story of a very silly man talking a lot about going on a boat. I'd like to point out that Ishmael does not try to up... He thinks he's worth at least the 275th lay, but possibly the 200th lay. But their good cop, bad cop routine, he didn't try for anything better than the 300th. He didn't tell them the skills he had. He didn't interrupt their argument. He was just having so much fun watching them argue. Like, they probably do this for all the greenhorns. They totally grifted him, as El Bubbly points out. Yeah, he's just here for a good time. Not a hard man to grift. I mean, in fairness, he basically continuously just goes wherever people tell him. Or wanders around aimlessly until he finds something unlocked. You know, like the inn they're staying at with the chowder, he found because it was recommended by the other innkeeper. Peter Coffin His cousin Hosea owns this place. Like, he didn't want to pick the ship. He's only doing this because Queequeg's totem said he had to. Video game protagonist behavior, says Ken Dreadful. There is a lot of modern storytelling in this story in ways that Herman Melville could have never imagined. As El Bubbly says, Ishmael runs on Skyrim player rules. He wanders into places and goes on side quests. Okie dokie Crisco confirms, yes, he approaches life the way I approach most RPGs. Oh wow, I'm already running out of pickaxe again. Let's go ahead and stow this stuff over here. I definitely feel a lot better about this project now that the lagoon's in. For those of y'all who didn't see it earlier, I spent 4 hours earlier today getting the lagoon in here, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. This is going to be an island, that's going to be an island. We got more stuff to do. Ishmael is like that dude from Ridiculous Old Math Problems who has 3,000 watermelons. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Does this actually line up where I have this cleft here? Does that line up properly with that? Yeah, it kind of does. Break, blocks break. Okay. Zazen says, how are you reading and playing at the same time? Practice. I usually read 3 chats simultaneously. Reading a novel isn't much different. I've been streaming since 2008. And my old day jobs always involve parsing a lot of text quickly. So it is a challenge to do certain tasks in Minecraft while reading, which is why I only read when I'm doing like big terraforming streams like this, where there's a lot of chill time. Esther the Wolf says, how do you manage 3 chats screen-wise? I've got multiple monitors that are very high resolution. And since my primary monitor, I usually use either a 4K or a 5K monitor, depending on which computer I'm on. Minecraft's only 1080p, so that takes up like a quarter of the screen real estate. So then I can surround it with chats and replay mod and stuff. Lost Cult Music Tips 3 and says, Storytime streams are good medicine. Thank you very much. Lost Cult Music, that puts us now 9 away from our next face camera expansion milestone. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Dark Kitty, you're treading dangerously close to the rule about asking permission to ask a question. I'd recommend against it. Why is my status set to open and streaming? Okay. Whew. Probably should just switch over this. Oh boy, we are out of inventory space already. Okay. Welcome, EJ. Yeah, we just finished reading chapter 16 of Moby Dick. And we're putting some stuff in boxes at this point. I was hoping to get more mined out. Why Moby Dick? Well, that's the whale that bit Captain Ahab's leg. It wouldn't make sense for him to be obsessed with a different whale. Be just weird, if anything. Okay, let's not waste time digging this stuff out, even though I want to dig this stuff out. I want to dig all this stuff out. I want to be done. But we need to focus on the stuff under these pumpkins. In the path of the pumpkins is where we're going first. Okay, so if we're coming from there to there, we need to go through like this. feel like we're making great progress. I just want to get now. See, the thing is, now that I've got the lagoon in, I want to get the service roads in. And doing that is going to be its own challenge. And we need to get more of this stuff mined out first so we can do it right. Okay. We might have to go start chopping down another forest to make room for some of this stuff. Okay. So from the service entrance is going to meet this here. Oh, we're almost there, but not quite. La da 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 do 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 do. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Dun 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 dun. Bum bum ba dun 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 dun. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Da 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 da. La da 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 da. Do 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 do. Did I just throw my boots? No, I took them off. Either way, not ideal. I need those for falling. Feather falling boots. This is why Etho owes me so much money. Okay. Let's throw some blocks away. We're putting them in chests that I have placed here. Da, 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 da. You know what? Let's just put these ones in here. Okay, let's grab one on the other side. Okay, so this is going to continue to here, which we have started marking out some, it looks like. What kind of chats do you need on screen? Twitch? Yeah, I've got Twitch, Discord, and YouTube. Discord and YouTube are both very quiet. Twitch is quiet too. This is kind of, we're kind of winding down for the night. We just read 2 chapters of Moby Dick. Now I'm just kind of removing some blocks in Minecraft, relaxing, resting my voice a little bit. I'm out of practice on the Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan voices. I was going to try and do Bill Dad as more of a obvious Bill S. Preston Esquire, Alex Winters, and I don't know that I nailed it. I feel like I was a little off there.
Ted, Alaskan Military School.
Okie dokie, Crisco says the thee and thou in that voice was very funny. Oh, I'm glad. Anaruda Deb says, Joe, how many hours are you streaming? I, in India, saw you streaming when I went to sleep, and now you're still again streaming. I streamed for 4 hours today, and then I took a 3.5 hour dinner break, and then I streamed again. Okay, so yeah, so this line here of these pumpkins is where we need to clear out through. Yeah, no, I took a long break in between. Lay your head down and dream, honeybee. Are we 4 months into the season yet? I'm supposed to organize a stream day 4 months into the season. When did we launch the season? That was beginning of February, right? Okay. Cool. Yeah, I was just thinking about what I've got coming up to work on. And one of the things I pointed out at the end of last season was the base tours we all did at the end of the season. We were all like, man, why haven't we been doing, like, base tours this whole time? And I suggested, okay, well, what if every 4 months or so we did, like, a stream day where we go around, we visit everybody's base for 10 or 15 minutes and kind of show and tell everything. And so everybody kind of has a chance to get their base in a presentable state and, like, you know, have other hermits come by. And everybody's like, yeah, that's a great idea, Joe. Make sure that you organize that 4 months into the season. I was like, I'm going to forget. So I was just sitting here and I was like, oh no, did I forget? But no, we got another month. Okay, cool. Yeah, because a month from now, this place should be presentable enough to have people over here. Even though it's not like my base, technically. It's more of a community area. Don't come in here promoting brands. That's weird. Have you ever said anything here before, or do I just need to ban you? You've had a channel for 10 years. Chat message in the list, you're none. Yeah, I'm just gonna ban you. Yeah, don't come in here promoting brands. They're not paying me, and either they're paying you, and that's not cool. You should be banned for, you know, being a corporate shill, or they're not paying you, and you're stealing jobs from hardworking Americans who want to be corporate shills. So yeah, no, if the first message you've posted in my chat is promoting a brand, you're banned. I don't have time for this. Unlike those brands who are not supporting me, if you'd like to support my show, tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Okay, we're gonna go repair these tools shortly. I feel like, though, if I'm gonna go all the way to the nether or the end, or both, I guess, in sequence to repair my tools, I should probably strive to repair more than just one thing. Okay, so I think I left my axe in my ender chest. I'm gonna run and check on that real quick. We're also gonna place these surplus blocks in here. Yeah, okay, so here's my axe. We do need to go clear out a ludicrous amount of trees. Twilight's not in the public domain, Mad Hatter Gene. I can only read public domain books on stream. Let's, get some of these fireworks. Ooh, pretty. Yeah, why am I not seeing what I'm actually supposed to be seeing? Okay, there's the arch. Okay, so then what I'm actually flying towards should be back here. So yeah, all of these trees need to go. So I kind of feel like we might as well just start with one of them. Just work our way through the whole lot. I should have brought ender pearls. Makes it quicker to climb up them. Ah, boy. Pum 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 pum. Pum 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 pum. Auto mod is weird, Cozy Craft. Don't worry about it. Auto mod is not very reliable. But we all pay for it with Twitch. Okay. Just as a reminder, we are only $9 away from the next face camera expansion milestone. I hear spiders and zombies. I don't know what's underneath here, but it's clearly pretty great. Probably a cave, if I had to guess, based on the azaleas. Oh, maybe a ravine, too. No more chapters tonight, Mastodon. That's 2 of the longest chapters in a row we just read. I'm just kind of finishing getting my tools in order here. Away we will go for the joy of the road, the joy of the stories we will write. La da 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 da. Are those pulp novels from the 1930s in the public domain yet? Depends which ones. La da 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 da. Whew. Oh boy. I don't think we've cleared enough trees yet. These ones are the ones directly underneath the Mad Hatter Gene, we actually read all of Dracula last year. I have a playlist of me reading the entire novel on my YouTube channel. But we are not going to read Dracula again this year because we just got done with it. That's why we switched over to reading Moby Dick. Howdy, Nope Queen. Okay. link. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, ooh. I feel like there's another tree punched through here. Yeah, there it is. Have a good night, Grayscales. Okay. Yeah, let me see if I can find the playlists of Dracula. Dracula streams. Yeah, yeah. Copy. Get shareable link. Here's the Dracula playlist link. For anybody curious, you can favorite that and come back to it later. Also, Leslie, thank you for tipping 10, who says, hey, Joe, I'll have to watch the VOD for tonight. Thank you very much. Yep, this is getting added to our Moby Dick playlist. That gets us $1 past our next face camera expansion milestone. So here we go. Expand. Just. Wabum. Da 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 da. Dun dun dun. Bum. Lowering the opacity now to 20%. That puts us 19 away from the next face camera expansion milestone. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/Joe Hills and YouTube Super Chat. Okay. Uh-oh, starting to get dark. Fly, fly away, Joe, fly, fly away. Sleepy tango. La da 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 da. Well, Janky Reefs, if you're working night shifts, you know I do also stream at 8:30 a lot of mornings. So my two stream times, my primary stream times are 12 hours apart because I'm bad at making life choices. Oh. So even if you're working the night shift when I'm streaming, you should probably be free the other times. You'll also be sleeping. Fair enough. I wasn't sure exactly how your sleep schedule was going to shake out. Okay, so there's some polar bears. Okay, just looking at this, getting the lay of the land. Okay, so let's see. This is one of the outer belt road markers. Where's the next one in relation to it? There's more polar bears out here than I remember. There's the next one. Okay, so we're going to have to clear a lot of this, too. Should have another belt road marker there. Yep, there it is. Bum, 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 bum. Ooh, big hole there. Hopefully that's not ominous. Oh, no, it's just moss. Okay. Oh, wow, we've gone 45 more minutes. I was originally thinking, like, I'll just go until I'm finished with my drink, because I have to get up to refill it anyway, eventually. But it's still, like, a third. You can't see that. I've been forgetting to drink it, because I'm so busy playing video games. Did you already get one of these? Maybe. Okay, so there's those two corners. So let's go, Joe Hills. Let's go this way. Okay. So looking at this here, stuff that needs to be cleared with the shovel includes that. Maybe I should give Cub Fan the labyrinth wing over here. That might be done sooner and easier. How much of this is there here? This looks like a whole thing. Okay, so that connects across to there. Brr. Yeah. Okay, I think it's time to do last call for tips. I need to go fix my tools and then raid somebody. We are 19 away from the next face camera expansion milestone, so if you enjoyed the show, you're welcome to tip now or another time. That's okay too. Do 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 do. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. Ah, slamming into this thing that you built for me. Dee dee dee. Da 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 da. Do 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 da da. Let's mute Twitch while I check out these different. Wait, how am I on the ground? Ow, my body. Ow, ow, my body. Hey, we got a tip rolling in from Anton Staff for 20. Thank you very much, Anton Staff. That's going to get us one past our next face camera expansion milestone. Here we go. Please direct your attention to my eye so I can expand. Just. And we are going to lower my newly expanded eyes opacity down now to 16%. So thank you, Anton Staff, for that. Okay. Oops, that's the bridge of my glasses. There's my eye. Hey, JP Viper. Sorry to hear that. That sounds like a rough time. I'm glad that I could do something small to help as you dealt with that. That's rough, though. You're doing the hard work. Alrighty, have a good night, Anton Staff. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna get over here to the ender thing, fix my tools, then we'll do one last check to see if the PayPal tips rolled in. And if not, either way, I'm wrapping up for the evening. JP Viper says, you just being yourself helps take my mind off things. I'm glad to help. Can I make these fall with me? Yeah, okay. So now can I lure them the rest of the way? Back here. We walk slowly. Not slowly enough. Okay, I need to move my glasses down here. Okay, we don't want to pick up a million ender pearls, so we're going to put these down. Okay, headstanding penguin. Yeah, I finished the reading for today already. Okay, I think we're going to raid Michael Dry 374 Matson, who is streaming pinball live from California, so probably has more energy than I do at this point. When you get over there, our raid message is, howdy y'all, Joe Hill's raid here. It looks like they're hosting the Concord Open Classics at the Flipper Room. Looks like Gabe de Silveira, Tony Lavinia, Louise Wagensonner, and Nick Stein are up on skateball. So when you get over there, our raid message is, howdy y'all, Joe Hill's raid here. Anyway, until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring. Why isn't it